Coming up on today's show, top free agents left across the National Football League that the Niners could sign following the NFL trade deadline. This roster right now in a pretty good spot after that Chase Young trade, but certainly interesting that if an injury were to happen, especially at a position in which this Niners team is not deep at, some marquee names that we're going to look into. First, though, I want to chop it up with the faithful. It's been great to grow this channel to the point where we're closing in on 100,000 subscribers, but it's also awesome to interact with people from all across the globe and talk Niners with everybody. So if you want to hit me up on X, formerly known as Twitter, I'm on there at Chase_Senior. I'm on Instagram at Chase_Senior as well. And I've been emailing a lot of people, which has been a lot of fun. Sometimes it's just easier than me having to type with my fat fingers on my phone. I always have these spelling mistakes. Email me, chase@chatsports.com. Give me a follow on social media. Look forward to hearing from you. So if Brock Purdy were to go down at quarterback, are you thinking, okay, Sam Darnold can be the guy? And if you're confident in Sam Darnold, who would become the backup? Because San Francisco would have to canvass that market. Because right now, that quarterback 3 spot, you comfortable with Brandon Allen? Or would you rather go with one of these free agent quarterbacks? At the very least, you need to bring in insurance if Purdy were to get injured. And look, hurt his elbow in the NFC Championship game. That was in concussion protocol last year. Dealt with the rib injury as well. The free agency crop at quarterback features 5 of these notable names, with the exception of Jimmy Garoppolo. We put a question mark there because he would have to either request to get cut by the Las Vegas Raiders or just be let go in general in order to sign with the Niners in free agency. But you're looking at Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Colt McCoy, Nick Foles, and yes, Jimmy Garoppolo benched going into November after Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels and their general manager was canned and fired. The Raiders now going with Aiden O'Connell, who torched this team in the NFL preseason. And because of that, does Garoppolo pull a Derek Carr? Derek Carr got benched last year. He left the team. Is Garoppolo going to do the same? We will certainly see. Now, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek talking about that, but it is obviously an entertaining talking point, and I'm half joking here, but would you bring Jimmy Garoppolo back if you needed to and if Brock Purdy went down? Give me a YJG for yes or a no JG for no. At that wide receiver spot, San Francisco has really missed Deebo Samuel during this 3-game losing streak, and they're a little bit thin at wide receiver. I'm not sure if we're ever going to see Danny Gray, who suffered that shoulder injury in the preseason, but that's that burner that I would like to see on this team. And if another injury happens at wide receiver, you're getting really, really thin there. Notable names still on the market at wideout. Jarvis Landry put together some really great years for the Miami Dolphins and the Cleveland Browns. He's 30 years old, but looks a little bit older as far as his game. Marquez Callaway, only 26 years old. And how quickly did Kenny Golladay fall off? Got off to a great start with the Lions, got the bag, was awful with the New York Giants, but maybe a player like that could look to prove himself. Jarvis Landry, last 4 years, really started to fall off after the 2020 season because in 2019, that was a really good stretch in the years leading up to 2019 in which he was basically a shoo-in for 1,000+ yards every year, whether it was with Miami or with Cleveland. Really good hands, best coming out of the slot, very reliable player. But in 2019, 83 grabs for 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. Year after that, not bad in 15 games played. Still 72 catches, 840 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But then in 2021, missed some time, only 12 games, that production 570. And then last year with the New Orleans Saints, it was supposed to be a homecoming. He went to LSU. It was not a happy homecoming for him or New Orleans, only played in 9 games there. At the running back position, we could talk about that because I think that backup running back is a little bit of an issue. I haven't loved what I've seen from Elijah Mitchell. For some reason, San Francisco is keeping Jordan Mason off the field. Couple of notable backs are available. Kenyon Drake is a versatile pass-catching and a guy who can also run the football, who's been very experienced in this league. Career stats in 103 games played, 868 yards, nearly 3,900 yards, average yards per carry at 4.5 with 33 touchdowns. I am a big fan of Jordan Mason because I love his physicality. If you want to go with the physical back instead of a finesse back like Kenyon Drake, you could go Leonard Fournette. He did sign with the Buffalo Bills practice squad, but as the rules are in the NFL, you can poach a player from a practice squad if you sign that player to the active roster. Over his career, hasn't quite lived up to the expectations of being that top 5 pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars, but had a couple of good years in Jacksonville, won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. Even last year, I didn't think he looked awful, so that would be an option there as well. With that, we tee up our poll question. Let's hear from the faithful here. What's the Niners' biggest area of need on this roster here? We're covering all of our bases on today's show, so just let me know down in the comment section right now. A lot of you might be looking to go to a future Niner game. I highly recommend that you do, and if you do, I recommend that you use the Game Time app. The best app if you're looking for last-minute tickets, and there are a couple of really good games still left on the San Francisco 49ers schedule. And you can go to road games depending on where you live, or if you want a little bit of a travel weekend to watch the Niners play, or a lot of tickets available for some of these home games as well. Get a $20 off deal if you use the code NinersChat. We're going to put that link down below in the comments section as well as in the description of this video. I love Game Time because you can see where you'll be sitting and the vantage point from that seat and the price point that comes with it. Last-minute tickets and flash deals. I was able to go to the ALCS between the Astros and the Rangers recently, World Series champion Texas Rangers. I waited until the last minute. I was able to get tickets for under $50. But it's not just sports that you can go to and use this app for. Games, concerts, music, that and a whole lot more. Easy to use app, views from the seats, lowest price guarantee, all of that information down below in the comment section of this video. Next position of need for San Francisco that they could address. Oh, that offensive line. The offensive line, I have a love-hate relationship with it. On that left side, Aaron Banks and Trent Williams are great. In the middle, very lukewarm on Jake Brendel. I think he gets pushed around a little bit too much because he lacks strength and size. The right side of that offensive line, Spencer Burford, Colton McKivitz have not been good. And if you want to bring in a better guard who's flourished at guard, who has shown he's probably not a good tackle, you bring in a guy like Lyle Collins. Last year with Cincinnati, he was a big-ticket free agency signing as the Bengals looked to bolster that offensive line. They wanted to keep Joe Burrow upright. Lyle Collins wasn't great, but last year he was playing tackle. You pop him inside and he plays guard. I think that he's just a better football player. Some concerns with the knee injury that he did suffer. Last year, though, 951 snaps. He gave up 5 sacks, 7 hits, 22 hurries, and a Pro Football Focus run grade of 73.5. Spencer Burford hasn't been great in the run game. And his backup now, John Feliciano, is going to have to step in for Aaron Banks, who's out the next 3 weeks because of turf toe. So Lyle Collins fortifies your depth and maybe even makes your offensive line a little bit better. A player who I don't really like is Andrew Norwell. He played last year for Washington. First of all, that Commanders' offensive line was already atrocious, and Andrew Norwell did not help matters. 16 games played, he gave up 4 sacks, 4 hits allowed, 21 hurries, had a run blocking grade of 59.9. That ain't good, that ain't it. But the problem is, if you're at this point of the NFL season and you're looking for offensive line help, not a lot of good options out there. We also have to talk about cornerback here. I think that a lot of the Niners' problems have been scheme and system because of Steve Wilks. It's the lack of production from some of your best players along that defensive line, and the secondary has been exposed a little bit, especially at that slot spot. Now, the Niners getting set to make some roster moves here. Samuel Womack, Darrell Luter Jr., 2 solid young corners. John Lynch said they're on the verge of returning, and when they come back, it helps out the secondary a lot. But are you going to be able to trust young players down the stretch in a playoff run? Or do you want to go after a veteran? Desmond King fits the veteran category. He played one snap on defense for the Steelers after he was cut in preseason by the Houston Texans. He's been in the league for a really long time. You also have Casey Hayward Jr., who at one point was a very, very good player, and then injuries have kind of curtailed his career to a certain degree. In 2022, only 6 games played because of those injuries. Completion percentage of 61.3, 1 interception, 3 pass breakups. That's not bad in 6 games. Only gave up 1 touchdown as well, 225 yards, but certainly concerned with some of the medical issues there. We round out the show with this. Name a free agent that you want the Niners to sign. We talked about a few here on the show, and you let me know by dropping a name down below in the comment section.